Mormon community doesn't want it. So they did everything to piss off whoever was not letting them play. The cap to it all was Manson actually on stage with 9 Inch Nails ripping up a Mormon Bible. It caused a lot of havoc.
I don't even think Manson realized the impact it was going to have.
That's the first time I ever saw any protest.
What built this band was controversy, and Brian knowing how to use that to his advantage.
He was able to figure out that bad press was good press, and by giving people something to talk about or write about, it would make him more popular.
We played the Coliseum in Jacksonville.
Jacksonville is a very hardline Christian right town.
As Marilyn Manson was playing, the stage was surrounded by police officers, waiting for him to make the wrong move.
Manson had a strap-on dildo as part of his act, and I guess they didn't really like that.
They arrested him.
He got arrested for dropping his drawers and massaging a very large phallus, and I wrote an article about it. I got a phone call, and the first thing I hear is, you better not print my name.
That seemed to be like a big deal to him, his name being released for the first time.
It would blow the whole image.
That was more of a problem than the actual arrest.
He made a veiled threat, something about my well-being. It's funny to think that the only time I've really had a death threat was from a guy wearing stockings.
Coming up, in his first tour as a headliner, Marilyn takes the mayhem to a new level.
He cut himself open pretty good sometimes, and it'd be scary.
And Marilyn's dream come true becomes a parent's worst nightmare.
There was no doubt this video was gonna just piss off mothers across America.
Driven.
The major change I saw in Marilyn Manson was when we first played in Los Angeles.
We were the house band at Universal for like a week. And so every night it was basically just a wild party. You just see Perry Farrell, Gene Simmons, Ron Jeremy, Tracy Lords.
They just hit it off like they were supposed to be together, and they ended up going out. At a show in L.A., you don't need a backstage pass because everyone is important. The song Beautiful People came from that experience. The beautiful people, the beautiful people. He wanted to be a part of that scene, I think. He fit in very well with Los Angeles.
He looked me up when he was opening for 9 Inch Nails. You know, and at that point it was already getting a little awkward or weird to have a conversation with him. I mean, how do you relate to someone who's doing what he's doing?
As things start to snowball and you become more popular, you start to build up an insulation between yourself and everybody else.
He didn't like to be called Brian in front of the fans.
He would get very annoyed if in public people call him, "Hey, Brian."
We needed to call him anything but Brian.
Well, he liked to be called Mr. Manson. I always make sure that I call him Mr. Manson. I didn't want to get him upset.
Somewhere along the line, he became Mr. Manson full-time.
It was a year on the road with Nails, and then Manson started right away with his headlining tour. And I think that is, you know, really when the crowd got to be introduced to Marilyn Manson.
Something crazy happened every night.
He'd be breaking bottles and cutting his chest open.
When Brian started cutting himself on stage, I thought, okay, he probably won't do that again because he's been whining about it all night, you know, after the show. And then he would do it even more at the next show.
You know, he cut himself open pretty good sometimes, and it'd be scary.
Barb, his mom, she freaked out. She didn't like that at all. Some fan brought us a chicken.
So they decided to put the chicken in a cage on stage. Somehow the cage got kicked, the chicken went into the audience.
Next thing you know, hits the fan. Word's gotten out that Manson is sacrificing animals.
The chicken never died, but somehow PETA and SPCA got a hold of this news that Marilyn Manson was sacrificing chickens.
As the tour would go on, the legend of sacrificing chickens grew and grew, and then we would get to venues and there'd be cops there, there'd be a lineup of people reading everybody the riot act before shows.
Unfortunately, I think he's gotten a lot of negative publicity that's not necessarily due him.
The media puts this bad spin on him, saying he's a bad influence on kids.
I could not believe that an entire country got so up in arms about this scrawny kid in plastic pants.
They weren't getting their album pushed by the record label. Any recognition was from concert touring. They didn't get any real airplay.
I mean, they hadn't really had a big single, and then all of a sudden, Sweet Dreams.
Sweet dreams are made of these. It's the first time he sang it, you're like, wow, that's going to be a hit. Brought a whole different meaning and tone to it than the original Eurythmics song.
I mean, he just reinvented the song. It became their song.
He had a great shtick where the lights go out, and he had this big construction worker's light bulb. You know, he's singing into the light, and then, you know, right as the song gets heavy and kicks in, he's bam.
And the crowd loved it.
The first I worked with Marilyn was on the Sweet Dreams video. With this video, it was just about creating absurd images that bordered on the surreal. Really didn't need any explanation other than, what did I just see? What is that? There was no doubt this video was gonna just piss off mothers across America, you know? MTV making that a buzz clip was a huge significance. The thing was on like 6 times a day, hypnotizing children across America.
I think that's where they really made an impression on the country.
Everybody loved it. He became a household name after that.
He's being played on the radio, and he's got a great video to match. And all of a sudden, boom, there he is everywhere.
That was the mainstreaming of, you know, the Marilyn Manson image. Just it blew up like that.
In the very beginning, I would say that Marilyn Manson was maybe a repressed personality somewhere deep in the mind of Brian Warner.
He wanted to be accepted, but didn't know where to fit in, so he made his own path, basically.
Is Marilyn Manson a real person?
That's the old question. Is it all an act?
No, it's not all an act. It's all real. I mean, Brian doesn't make the separation between being a character on stage and being a person in front of you.
You know, he developed the character of Marilyn Manson, and then he became that character.
I suppose that Marilyn Manson just took over Brian Warner. I don't know that Brian Warner exists anymore.
Check out scrapbooks, video clips, photo galleries, and more for all driven artists on VH1.com.